Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So today I thought I'd do another quick question and answer. I've been getting a lot of questions about larger tools, and I was speaking with a young man, I guess about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, and he actually flagged me down at a local grocery store and was asking me some questions about, he had just got into the industry or the hobby. He's got his first project car. He's getting started. He went out and got himself a good complement of hand tools. He got his angle grinder and his drill and fixed himself up with consumables. Got some extra drill bits, extra discs, extra stones, that kind of thing. And he got a jack in his stands, and he was wondering where he should go next. And I got to thinking about it, and I actually get asked these kind of questions quite often. And he said something that really stuck in my head, and I'd never really looked at it this way. I've always thought of it as your more expensive tools, your investment tools, and the phrase he used was capital tools, and I thought that was pretty appropriate. So let's talk about capital tools. So you've made this decision to go ahead and you want to be an automotive enthusiast, hobbyist, a hot rodder in general. You just want to be able to work on your own car to save some money and help money go farther for your family, or to save up and buy a house, whatever. So much like him, you've got your hand tools, you've got your basic stuff. We all got to start somewhere. And you've been at it a year or two, and you've decided, okay, I want to step up my involvement, or I want to step up my capabilities, or I want to maybe do this professionally or do it as a side hustle. Where do I go from here? Well, one of the biggest tools I get asked about a lot is air compressors. And before I proceed, let me say that the first thing you need to consider is your space and your budget. If you've got a great big 24 by 40 shop, you've got room to take a corner and kind of make that your tool area, or spread it around however you choose to do it. It's your dream, it's your vision. Make it fit the way you work, how your work flows. Just like in an office or on a construction site, you got a certain flow to how things are done, and it'll be the same way in your shop. If you've got a little small 16 by 20 garage, or one of these little 16 by not quite big enough to just short of not being able to get your car in it, townhouse size garages, because the freezer and the water heater and the heat pump or furnace or whatever is right there in front of your car, then keep that in mind. You're going to be limited by your space, but some of your tools could be put in a shed out back, and bring them in when you need them, use them, put them back. One of the reasons I made the lifting heavy things video talking about cherry pickers, or engine hoists. I see so many people buy them, use them to do one engine job, and then the next thing you know, it's out in their front yard for $50, or they got it up on Craigslist for $100, or free, come pick it up, it's in my way. They also need to not be in the weather. But a trick you can pull there is to take the hydraulic ram off and keep the hydraulic ram out of the weather, and then you can just fold the picker or the crane up into its little 3x5 roll around storage size space and stick it out behind the garage, just as long as it's on a piece of concrete or something, so the wheels don't rust, or the caster wheels, because once they rust, they're hard to get them loose. And you got it for other things. Air compressors. How big of an air compressor do I need? That's a big one. My theory on that is like my theory on some other things. If you're serious enough that you're going to do this, and you're willing to invest the kind of time and money and thought into asking those kind of questions, buy the biggest, best one you can afford. Now, I am a little bit of a devil's advocate there. I like to have a nice big stationary air compressor, but I also like to have a little 5 or 10 gallon one that I can move around. The reason you have the big one, if you go ahead and plumb your shop for air and you're judicious with where you place your outlets around the building, you don't need that long of a hose. You can have 2 or 3 hoses, have a really long hose in case you got to go out to the end of the driveway or over to the back of the house, that kind of thing. But then that's where your little 5 gallon compressor comes in. If you just need some air to go blow something off, or put a little pressure in a pipe or something, then you take your little air compressor and do it. Or you can run a roll of hose over there and do what you're going to do, run off the big compressor. But another way of looking at it is that big 80 gallon or 100 gallon Ingersoll Rand style, and nobody's sponsoring this video today, style compressor, you run it one time and get it full and at full pressure. They're usually 150, 175 pound unit. If you don't have very many leaks, or any leaks preferably in your air system, but I've never seen an air system that didn't have some leaks somewhere, that compressor may only run every 2 or 3 days, and that's going to help with your electric bill, and it's also going to help with the longevity of the compressor. Like with any other tool, do the maintenance on it. Drain the tank. Make sure if it's oil filled, make sure it doesn't run out of oil. Keep the filters clean. Don't let it run hot. Make sure it's got plenty of air going to it. Cooling air, not air compressing air. And it should last you at least 10 or 15 years. Even if you're using it in a commercial shop, it should last 10 to 15 years. So look at it as an investment. Welders, that's another good capital one. Okay, what kind of welding are you comfortable with? Have you ever welded before? Do you need a gas welder? Do you need to just have a stick welder? Do you want a TIG weld? Okay, and with the modern inverter style welders, I pretty much recommend, and I hadn't really got into this until the last couple of years, and I like the multiple process welders where it's a stick welder and it's a TIG, or it's a stick welder and it's a MIG. Some of them can do all three, but it's scratch start TIG. If you're going to do aluminum, then yeah, you need to get an AC/DC welder because you need that for your aluminum. You can do it with a MIG welder and a spool gun. But if you're going to be serious about it, you're going to find your way to that TIG because you can do a better job, improve your craftsmanship, improve your product, and improve the look of the things you're doing. It's all about how you're doing it and how you're going about doing it. To ask me, what tool should I buy next? That's up to you. Where are you at on your journey as a fabricator, mechanic, hobbyist, whatever? Are you just getting started? Or are you 4 or 5 years in? You got a good grip on what you're doing and you want to expand? Or are you the seasoned veteran and there's just some tool you'd really like to have, like you've always wanted a metal lathe or you've always wanted a Bridgeport mill? These are things to consider, but it all goes back to the space and the money available. When you get into the bigger power tools, do you have the proper electricity to run it? Is it single phase? Is it 3-phase? Do you want to put in a phase converter? Are you in a place like, are you out in a rural farming area where you can possibly get 3-phase pretty easily? Is your county going to let you have 3-phase in a non-commercial environment? This is the kind of things you got to look at. In the end, it just comes down to what are you willing to put into it and how are you going to use it to its full advantage? How is it going to help you? Jacks. Should you have more than one jack? It's nice to have more than one floor jack. Absolutely. And a bottle jack or two. A nice 12-ton, a couple of little 5-tons just for doing a little bending, moving, lifting, that kind of thing. Jack stands. Okay, I get that a lot. How many jack stands should I buy? All right, if you got one project car, then you know it's going to be in there for long-term work. Okay, then get 4 or 6 jack stands to put it on, depending on what you got to do to it. Or maybe it's up on a chassis jig if you're blessed enough to have enough room to do that. Okay, but still have 4 or 6 available for your project car. Then have maybe a tall one and a little one for rotating the tires on the family sedan or the neighbor's SUV or helping out that lady from your mom's church or whatever the case may be. You're going to get pulled into that kind of stuff too, so you want to be able to do it properly and professionally when you do it, whether you're a hobbyist or a professional. Do you need a shrinker stretcher? Do you need a pan brake? Do you need a slip roller? Do you need an English wheel? Well, I don't know. Are you planning to get into sheet metal fabrication? Okay, if you are, do some research. Figure out the one that'll best fit you. Are you just wanting to test the waters, see if you like it? Then maybe buy a small one. Now, I've seen some people go down and buy some very cheap knockoff, and I'm going to use the term loosely, Chinese English wheels, which aren't made very well. And they couldn't get a good result, and it really turned them off to use an English wheel or learning to use the English wheel. Same with planishing hammers. The hammers didn't line up, so everything it did, it was putting a little ripple in the metal. As soon as those same people used a well-prepared tool or a well-made tool, whether it was homemade or store-bought, then, yeah, they had a whole different outlook, and they were all excited about doing it again, and I've seen some beautiful work come from those folks. And they've only been in the hobby, I don't know, between 3 and 5 years, and they're already making beautiful stuff. Do you want to just get a piece of sheet metal and a shot bag and a good set of balsa hammers and go to pounding on that piece of metal and learn what happens to a piece of metal when you bend it? Then do it. Don't be ashamed of what your skill level is. The fact that you're taking the step to start says you're willing to make the commitment and you're on the path. And I got a little off track on that one from the capital tool thing. Do you need a generator? Do you need a motorized air compressor? These are things that if you got to go out in the field to pull a car out of the woods, that kind of thing, yeah, it's nice to have a generator. And the generator, the reason I say that, it's power and it can power a compressor, so then you don't need the motorized air compressor. But if you're going to go out and do service truck work, then yeah, it's nice to have a motorized compressor and you just fire it up when you need to run your air. The generator can handle running your power tools. That way you don't put as much wear on your compressor or the motor on your compressor. You're not dependent on that generator for everything. So these are the kind of things you need to look at. I hope you found that interesting, informational, at least entertaining, and I hope you got some good guidance out of it, or maybe give you some food for thought to help you get yourself going in the right direction. Thanks for watching. As always, practice your skills, learn a new one. Either way, turn it into craftsmanship. You never know how far it'll take you. So until next time, this has been Fab Race Mod Repeat. Have a great day.